All right, y'all, back in the garage here, working on the Regal turbo Buick, and I'm going to start attacking the valve stems. I am not feeling it today, man, at all. But you know, I got to get it done, and you know, sometimes when you're not really feeling it and you're able to get up and get moved around, sometimes those are the days where you're most effective. So there's actually a few things that I have to do here. So obviously taking off the valve covers and everything around it, because you know you have to take off 10 different things before you can actually get to the piece that you need to get to. So being that it's on this side, I'm going to have to take off the heater hoses there, which means I'm probably gonna have to drain some of the coolant out, which I have to do anyway because of the radiator that I have. So I got a new radiator too, because I think this one is starting to crap out on me. And so I'm gonna probably drain some of the fluid out to alleviate some of the fluid and the pressure, a little bit of the pressure and the fluid built up in these lines. So get some of those out, and then just go ahead and start taking this stuff apart, y'all. So what I'll probably do first, though, actually now that I'm thinking about it, is before I get into the nitty gritty of it all, I want to do this side first that I had already taken apart, because these heads aren't true to the car, but I still don't know if the exhaust valves have seals on them, because these originally did not come with exhaust valve stem seals on them. So they only had intake seals on them. So I want to take this apart first, since it's the easiest to kind of get to and take off. That way, if these don't have exhaust valve seals, I'm not going to deal with it at this time. There's plenty of turbo Buicks that roll around with this smoking issue because of the valve seals, and you know, have been just fine. I've been doing it for 3 years and nothing has happened, nothing has gotten worse or anything. And then I'll just take care of it at a later date. I just don't want to, I'm just not in a position right now where I can take off the heads and all that and put a little bit more money into them and all that. I just don't want to do it. But if they both have seals on them, I'm just gonna go ahead and replace them. So and hopefully that'll be the fix for them. So let me go ahead and attack that right now, and then I'll chime back in here. So I got the valve covers off. Wasn't too bad. Driver's side is not bad to do at all. Really didn't take me too long. But here is what the top of the heads and the rockers look like here. It seemed like my audience, or all my subscribers, are kind of more used to kind of LS base or old school Chevys, small block Chevys, big block Chevys. So they're all a little bit different. These are also different. So the rockers actually roll on this shaft here, and it sits on a tower on 3 different towers, and then you have bolts that basically holds down that whole rocker assembly. So when they just roll on that, all you do is just unbolt those 3 and just lift off the whole assembly. And then you just take off the springs and retainers and all that as normal. So I think these are just torqued down to like 25 foot-pounds. So it shouldn't be too bad to get them off. So that's what I'm gonna do right now, is go ahead and take them off. And I'll try to film, you know, as much as I can, you know, of me doing at least taking those off, and maybe one side or one part of the springs. I have a new tool that I got from an East Coast company called Cotton's Performance. They're pretty big in the turbo Buick community. So this is the spring compressor tool that basically is used for these type of engines. And so that's what I'm going to use to take those off. And these are the seals. So part number SS72623, and they come in a set of 6, and this is just the other set of 6. So made for this particular vehicle. Shows you right there, if you can see, engine size, 181, 231, 252 engines from 83 to 88. And this is actually a 231 engine. 3.8, 231 is the size. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to take this assembly off, and then we'll go from there. So stay tuned. So I just wanted to make sure I was taking this off correctly. And it looks like I did. And I just wanted to make sure there was no shims or anything that I didn't see or miss or might have fallen off. So let me go set this down. I got one side or piston done, or two of the valve seals done. So the number one piston is done. I took my time on it. It probably took me a good solid 45 minutes just to do that one, just because I wanted to make sure the seals were seated right, being that these aren't stock heads, and technically the valve seals, stem seals that I got are for stock heads, but you know, they should be able to cross over here. And when I installed them, everything looked just fine. But one thing, well, first let me go over this. So this tool, it was like 40 bucks, and it was actually fairly easy to use. I honestly feel it's easier to use than the LS tool by far. I mean, obviously it's a different setup, but man, it's super easy. All you do is just screw this little rod on the pedestal, and then you screw that into the pedestal. Then you have this piece that slides on and off, so I can go here and then use a wrench and just put it on that nut, and then just pull it down, and it compresses the spring. Man, way easier than same concept, but way easier than the LS. And then all you do is just shift this to the other side, and do the other side, and it's just way easier, man. And really good tool to use. I'm definitely glad I got it, and if I ever need it again, at least I'll have it. It's kind of those one tools you have, it's like one time, 2-time use, or maybe less than 5, depending on how much you actually work on your car. Hopefully this will only be the only time I actually need it, but if I have it, great tool to have. The only thing that I was not satisfied with, and I'll show you that right here, is these valve seals. So, well, at least one set of the valve seals. So, I actually ordered these from O'Reilly's, and this I ordered online. For some reason, man, these are hard to find at stores. I don't know why. Every O'Reilly's I went to didn't have them. This was the only one that they had, and they had to order it from their corporate location or the distribution center, only one they had. And so I just thought, oh, I'll go online and order the same part number, get them in, cool. I went to eBay and just put in the same part number and everything, and as you guys can see, this is SS72623, and where's the part number on here? SS72623. So I don't know why they actually look the same. Let me see if I can get one out. So just by looking at them from the top here, they look the same, y'all. Let me see if I can get them right here. They look pretty much the same. Put them on the edge, you know, pretty much the same. Is when you go underneath where they sit down there around the valve, and down there in the valve pedestal, or whatever you want to call it, That's where they differ. And I'm not sure if you guys can tell. Let me see if I can get this in the light. All right, y'all, so here's where they differ. And I don't know why. So the one on my right side, the blue one, is that area that's kind of beveled in there, then it goes down and it gets a little narrower. That area is bigger than this one here on the black one. And you can really tell, you can see how much bigger inside it is there on the black one than it is on the blue one. And so what problem that caused is when I went to put it around the valve and then set it down in there, and if you guys know, those seals, or at least most seals, a lot of people just take like a round socket, something similar to this, and then they just put it over or through the valve, and then and just kind of just lightly tap the seals in place. So that's what I did. Did that to the first one, and I used the blue one, and went down there, went in pretty perfect. It went in kind of crooked just because I had the socket a little bit crooked, but then I leveled it out, went down in, sealed, went flush, good to go. And since I had blue and black ones, I figured the same part number, same part and everything. I would use the blue one for the intake valve, and then the black one for the exhaust valve, just to kind of differentiate between the two. And so I went to do that, and man, I did not like how this sat on there. And being that this is bigger, like I just showed you, when I went down there to seat it down in there, I could just slide it up and down with my hand. The ones that I took out, these are the old ones, I couldn't do that. And I don't know why, like I couldn't even pull those out by hand. I had to get a wrench or a pliers and pull them out. And when I seated the blue one down in there, went down in there snug, I couldn't grip it with my hand or pull it out at all. This one, I could just slide it on and off easily. And I was not comfortable with that. I did not want to leave it in there and have it just, you know, stuck to the valve and being sliding up and down the valve and not doing its job. So what I did, and it's probably better off, is I put the other blue one on the other side, went down there perfect, snug, can't move it at all, good to go. And I'm just gonna do this whole side with those. They just come in a set of 6, or 6 total, and all I need is 6 for one side and 6 for the other side. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm pretty sure they're probably gonna have to order me another set of those, and I'll just have to wait till they get here. But in the meantime, at least I have the one side done, and I'll just wait till the other side gets here. One thing I wanted to mention too while I'm doing this is there's a couple different ways that you can do this to keep the valves up, because you have to keep the valves up in order to change the valve stem seals. And if you don't, then the valves can just fall right down in the engine and the bore, and that wouldn't be a good thing. So a couple different ways here. Now I'm using compressed air. And right now the valves are all closed because there's no pressure on the rocker, or the rockers aren't assembled on there, and there's no pressures on the springs at all, so all the valves are closed. But once you take the springs off and you don't have a way to keep the valves up, then they're gonna fall down. So I'm using compressed air. I have a hose inside here, same hose that you would use to do like a compression test or a leak down test, anything like that, that has a fitting for air compressor, and then I just plug that in here. Now what happens is it pushes, once the air goes in, it actually applies pressure and it forces the piston down, all the way down, and you can usually see it. Well, you can't see it because it'll spin the crank, and then if all the accessories are hooked up, you'll see the alternator spin. I was trying to hook it up so I could show you, but my camera angle won't allow it, and this battery's about to die anyway. So, but yeah, it pushes the piston down, and then the air is just forced in there, applies the pressure to keep the valves up even when the springs are off. Now, there's also a way to do it where if you don't have compressed air, then what you would do, and it's just a little bit more time consuming, is you would spin the crank with your ratchet, and you want the piston to be all the way up as close as you can. Then you would feed rope, like thin rope, inside there and keep feeding it, or inside the spark plug hole. You would feed rope inside the spark plug hole and keep feeding the rope in, feeding the rope in, feeding the rope in. And all you're doing is basically filling that void between the piston, the top of the piston, and the valves. And then what the rope does is it fills up that space in there and allows the pistons to kind of have something to rest on, and then they won't fall all the way down. And then you would just leave a little bit of rope out. Once you can't feed it anymore, you would just leave a little bit of the rope out so you can pull it out when it's all put back together. So that's another way you could do it too. Luckily, I didn't have this hose in, but when I bought the leak down tester, it supplied it with that, so I was good. And I have a compressor, so I was able to do it this way, a lot more. I'm just gonna wrap this up for the night here. It's all put back together. However, I'm gonna have to take it back apart. So right when I put this thing back together, I had this thought, and I'm like, man, I don't know if these valve stem seals are gonna work. And this is why. So normally they would work. They actually are the right part for this particular car. However, it is not the right part for this particular setup. And since these are aftermarket heads, I didn't really know the ins and outs of, you know, what was done, you know, as far as what type of valve stem seals were in there, what type of valves and all that. I know what type of valves are in there, but I didn't know what size they were. I wasn't sure if they were dual springs or in there or not. I just wasn't sure. So it was a lot of it was a lot of me kind of guessing. And what I probably should have did is just taken everything apart and then just ordered parts from there. My mistake, but I was actually waiting on a part to use for that, and that's that valve spring compressor. But in any case, what I figured out is this. So this is the one that I spoke about earlier that's a little bit different than the one that I installed. However, it's still the same in diameter. And what I found is this diameter is going to be too big for my application, because I have dual springs in here. And there was a reason why these size valve stem seals were on there. And I don't know if they call these like umbrella style valve stem seals or not. I'm not sure. However, when I measured the diameter of this one in comparison to this one was almost 2 millimeters bigger than this one. And it probably doesn't sound like much, but in the grand scheme of things, it is. And when you're dealing with, you know, tolerances and different variances as far as sizes and things like that go, everything counts, especially on a car. And, you know, 2 millimeters could be a lot of space in between that spring and the valve stem seal. So there was a reason why this size was in there. So I'm gonna have to order new ones, and I already found out the part that I needed to get. And plus, they're gonna be far better than these, since these are kind of that plastic high heat material. The ones that I have, the body of them is gonna be metal, and then it's gonna have Viton seals, versus this being all plastic, and then it has that metal ring around the top to kind of seal against the valve stem, and then it has another spring ring around the body of it as well too, so it can kind of seat down in like the little valve perch there. So yeah, y'all, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, you know, you live and you learn, and I wanted to post this on there just for anybody else out there who might be run across a situation. But at the same time, you know, this is how we learn, y'all. And I feel like a lot of people just, they put up videos and, you know, put music over it and everything is going good and whatnot, and, you know, but they don't show, you know, kind of what it took to get there and what steps it took to get there, if everything went okay or not. So I'd rather be as transparent as I can, and you know, we all learn from our mistakes. So that's why I wanted to put this on there. So I got new valve stem seals coming, cop cams, part number 517 dash, well, it's 517-12 or -16 or -8. The dash and the 8 or the 12 or the 10, then the second number is how many of these that you need. So I'm gonna get the part number 517-16. It's more than what I need, but it's gonna give me 4 extra. See, I see 2, 4, yep, 12 total. So it's gonna give me 4 extra if I order 16. That way, if I damage any on the install or whatnot, then I'll have some extra. It's only like $3 more. And also on top of that, I didn't know that these were supposed to come with like a plastic sleeve that slides over the top of the valve seal to protect, to cover up the groove where the retainers sit in. Because I guess when you slide these over, the part that hugs around the valve seal catches that little groove, and you can risk damaging these on the install or fraying them. So, and obviously if that happens, then that can affect the way the valve stem seal seals against the valve stem. So I didn't know that, and so I put them all on, and I even kind of took them off a couple times, or at least a set of them I took them off a couple times and not even knowing. And then sure enough, when I looked in the inside of this one, it was actually frayed a little bit on the bottom. So I didn't even know that, because both new packs that I have did not come with that little plastic sleeve. So I'm gonna have to figure out something if I don't get that when I install the new one. So worst case, what I could probably do is I could probably use a straw and then just put the straw over it, or feed the straw in through here first and then slide them over. So we'll make it happen. We'll make it happen. So anyways, y'all, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night. You guys know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Do all that good, positive stuff, y'all. Stay with me, and we're gonna get this thing back running solid and on the road. All right, deuces out.